But when I arrived in the role, it was very clear that people were treating the estate as a sort of burden, an overhead. And I very quickly invited them to sort of reframe the challenge and to look at it actually more as an asset and as an opportunity. And one of those opportunities, of course, obviously, when you've got so much green space, was to look at how we might exploit it for renewable energy. And that led to the generation of something that we subsequently called Project Prometheus, which was a proposal for a 200 million investment across the Army estate on 74 solar farms. And it was while I was taking that case to the Army board and winning the case for that investment that one of the non-executives, who was the Director of Reserves, John Crackett, who I will be eternally grateful for, he sort of took me to one side after. He said, "Richard, I can see that you're coming at this very much from a point of view of sweating the estate and getting return on investment. But he said, there is another angle to this which you should explore, which is the whole environmental sustainability side. And he said, I'm going to offer to sponsor you to attend the executive programme at the Cambridge Institute of Sustainability Leadership, CISL. Well, I'd never heard of that college, and I duly signed up, and off I went. And if I'm honest, Rachel, it was something of a sort of road to Damascus moment on the course, because the scales were firmly ripped away from my eyes as to the challenges we faced. And this was, of course, long before Greta Thunberg was a household name, and indeed, COP was still a relatively new concept. And, I often think of, I think it was Phil Ord, the sort of Northern Ireland police commissioner, who said, to know is to be responsible. And I think over those days on that course, I came to a point where I now knew something I did not know before, and I felt incredibly energized to do something about it. And I suppose that was the real turning point, because I came back off that course, and I remember getting home that night and chatting to my wife and saying, got a bit of a problem here, honey. I now know something which I didn't know before, and I feel obliged to act. And I said, it feels really consistent with everything I've done for the last 30 years, which is about protecting the nation. So I'm going to go and have a chat with the chief about this. And so I did. I spoke to the CGS, it was General Mark Carlton-Smith at the time. I went in, I booked 20 minutes, which was a lot of time in his diary. I came out after an hour and a half. And I have to tell you that it was one of the conversations I was least looking forward to, because I knew I was going to potentially have to tell him stuff that was really quite different and radical and a bit sort of, fluffy-feely compared to the sort of conversations I would normally have with him. And at the end of that hour and a half, he sort of stood up and he said, Richard, I wish more people came and talked to me like this. And he said, what do you want as your next step? And I said, well, I think the next step, General, has to be an Army Board away day. And I said, I think CISL will help us with that, for us to reflect on what it means for the Army. So that's where it all started, and that led to the Army incorporating Net Zero 50 ambitions into its overarching strategy. It led to the endorsement of Project Prometheus, so we started building solar farms late in the day compared to many, but never better late than never. And it's what spurred my subsequent passion, enthusiasm, commitment to driving this agenda in the roles that I've done subsequently.